Hi, welcome to my Study Compass. In this video, I'll be walking you through the past paper, Math P2, Variant 1, May-June 2016. Let's get started. A train leaves Zurich at 22:40 and arrives in Vienna at 7:32 the next day. Work out the time taken. So to find the time taken, we first of all need to find the time it takes from 22:40 to midnight, and that gives us 1 hour 20 minutes. So we will add the 1 hour 20 minutes to 7:32, and that gives us a total of 8 hours 52 minutes. From a sample of 80 batteries, 3 are faulty. Work out the percentage of faulty batteries. To find the percentage of faulty batteries, we need to find the number of faulty batteries divided by the total number of batteries times 100%, and by slotting in the given values, and so this leaves us with 3.75%. Write 1.27 times 10 raised to the power negative 3 as an ordinary number. So because we have 10 raised to the power 3, we are going to shift the decimal point in 1.27 3 steps, and because 3 is negative, we are going to shift the decimal point to the left. So in doing that, we are left with 0.00127. Calculate 2.1 minus 0.078 all raised to the power 17, given your answer correct to 4 significant figures. So this is the value the calculator displays when we input this value in the calculator. So to round it off to 4 significant figures, since the number 6 is 5 or more, we will add 1 to the number 8, and this leaves us with 157,900. Umar changes 2,000 Saudi Arabian riyals into euros when the exchange rate is 1 euro equal 5.087 Saudi Arabian riyals. Work out how much Umar receives, given your answer correct to the nearest euro. So after setting up the ratio, this is the value that we get, and to round it off to the nearest euro, since the number after the decimal point is less than 5, we are going to get 393 euros, which is correct to the nearest euro. Find the lowest common multiple of 36 and 48. One of the ways to find the LCM of these two numbers is to first list the multiples of 36 and also list the multiples of 48. And after doing this, we can see that the least common multiple, or the LCM, of both 36 and 48 is 144. Y equals mx plus c. Find the value of y when m equals -2, x equals -7, and c equals -3. So to find the value of y, all we need to do is substitute the values of the variables or the letters given and use it to find the value of y, and this leaves us with 11. Y equals qx over p. Write x in terms of p, q, and y. So to do this, we need to ensure that we move all the other alphabets to the other side of the equal sign so that we can leave x as the only letter standing. So to do this, we first move the letter p, and since it's dividing on this side of the equation, when it moves across the equal sign, it goes to multiply. The next step is to move q, and to do this, since q is multiplying x on this side of the equation, when it moves across the equal sign, it goes to divide yp, and we are left with x equals yp over q. Triangle ABC is isosceles and AC is parallel to BD. Find the value of A and the value of B. We know that the base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal, and all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And so based on this, we can find A by writing the equation 2A plus 40 degrees equals 180 degrees, and this leaves us with A equals 70 degrees. AC and BD are parallel lines, and angles B and 40 degrees are alternate angles. Alternate angles are equal, and so B is equal to 40 degrees. The sides of an equilateral triangle are 9.4 centimeters, correct to the nearest millimeter. Work out the upper bound of the perimeter of this triangle. First off, let's convert 1 millimeter into centimeters. Since our expected answer is to be in centimeters, we want to ensure that all our values are in centimeters. Since we are converting 9.4 centimeters to the nearest millimeter, which is 0.1 centimeter, we are going to bring our plus and minus and also divide 0.1 by 2. And for the upper bound of the length, we are going to ignore the negative sign and use the positive. And so that means the upper bound of the length is 9.4 plus 0.1 divided by 2 centimeters. And that gives us 9.45 centimeters. Since this is an equilateral triangle, the upper bound of the perimeter will be 3 times 9.45 centimeters, and that gives us 28.35 centimeters. A, B, P, and Q lie on the circle center O. Angle APB is equal to 56 degrees. Find the value of x. So to find the value of x, we know that an angle subtended at the center by a chord is twice the angle subtended at the circumference of the circle. So this means that x will be 2 times angle APB, which is 56 degrees, and that gives us x equals 112 degrees. To find the value of y, the angles subtended at the circumference by a given chord are equal. So since chord AB subtends an angle y on the circumference of the circle and subtends another angle 56 degrees at the circumference of the circle, y equal 56 degrees. Simplify. To simplify this, we need to apply one of the indices rules, and this gives us 16 raised to the power 1 over 4 and p raised to the power 16 all raised to the power 1 over 4. 16 raised to the power 1 over 4, if you input this on your calculator, you get 2. And by multiplying the powers of 16 and 1 over 4, we get 4, and this leaves us with a final answer of 2p raised to the power 4. Solve the inequality. So to solve this inequality, we first group like terms on both sides of the inequalities, and this gives us 7 plus 8 is less than 5n minus n, and 7 plus 8 gives us 15. 5n minus n gives us 4n. To leave n standing on its own, we are going to move 4 to the other side of the inequality. Since it's multiplying n on one side of the inequality, if it moves to the other side, it goes to divide. And we have 15 over 4 is less than n. 15 over 4 in decimal is 3.75. So 3.75 is less than n. Another way of writing that is n is greater than 3.75. The diagram shows a rectangular garden divided into different areas. FG is the perpendicular bisector of BC. The arc HJ has center D and radius 20 meters. CE is the bisector of angle DCB. Write down two more statements using loci to describe the shaded region inside the garden. And we've been told that the shaded region is nearer to C than to B, and that is because FG is the perpendicular bisector of BC, and so clearly the shaded region is more towards the side of C than towards the side of B. We also know that CE is the bisector of angle DCB, and if that is the case, then we can clearly see that the shaded region is nearer to CD than to CB. We've also been told that the arc HJ has a radius of 20 meters, and from the location of the shaded region, we can see that the shaded region is more than 20 meters from D. Find the next term in this sequence. From the given list of numbers, we can see that there's a common difference between the numbers, and that is -2. So by subtracting 2 from -1, we get -3, which is the next term in the sequence. Find the nth term of the sequence. So to find the nth term of a sequence that has a common difference, you can use the formula an equal a1 plus n minus 1d, where an is representing the nth term which we are finding. A1 represents the first term of the sequence. In this case, the first term is 7, and D represents the common difference, which is -2. So when we slot in these values into the nth term formula, we get 9 minus 2n, where n represents a given position in the sequence. Without using a calculator, work out 6 over 7 divided by 1 whole number 2 over 3. Show all your working and give your answer as a fraction in its lowest terms. So the first step is to convert the mixed fraction into an improper fraction, and that gives us 5 over 3. So the next step is to now multiply by the reciprocal of 5 over 3. This gives us 6 over 7 times the reciprocal of 5 over 3, which is 3 over 5. And when we multiply the numerators and the denominators, which is 6 times 3 gives us 18, and 7 times 5 gives us 35. We cannot further simplify 18 over 35, and so that will be our final answer. 5 angles of a hexagon are each 115 degrees. Calculate the size of the sixth angle. So one fact that we are going to use to help us solve this question is the fact that the total or the sum of all interior angles in any given polygon is equal to 180 degrees times n minus 2, where n is equal to the number of sides of the given polygon. So from the question, we've been given 5 of those angles in a hexagon, and we know that a hexagon has 6 sides, and so this means that the value of n is equal to 6. And we know that 5 angles in the hexagon are each 115 degrees, and we are trying to find the sixth angle. So this means that the total of the interior angles will be 5 times 115 degrees plus the unknown sixth angle. If we try to simplify this equation, we are left with x equals 145 degrees. A car of length 4.3 meters is traveling at 105 kilometers per hour. It passes over a bridge of length 36 meters. Calculate the time in seconds it takes to pass over the bridge completely. To find the time it takes for the car to completely cross the bridge, we need to find the total distance traveled by the car in crossing the bridge divided by the speed at which the car is traveling. So the tricky part of answering this question comes in when you are finding the total distance traveled by the car. Just like I initially thought, you might also be tempted to think that the total distance traveled by the car is 36 meters, since that is what has been given in the question. But this is actually not the case. The total distance traveled by the car when it completely crosses the bridge is the length of the bridge plus the length of the car, which is 36 meters plus 4.3 meters. So to better explain why this is the case, let's use a diagram. Let's try to visualize what is happening. Let's use the front of the car as a reference point. So this is the car before it crosses the bridge. After the car completely crossed the bridge, the front of the car is now at this new position. So that means that to calculate the total distance traveled by the car, that will now be the length of the bridge plus the length of the car. This might take a while to sink in, and that is fine. Hopefully by looking at this diagram a few more times, you'll be able to understand the point that the distance traveled by the car is the length of the bridge and the length of the car. The speed at which the car is traveling has been given as 105 kilometers per hour. So we make sure that we convert 105 kilometers per hour into meters per second so that we get our final answer in seconds. And that leaves us with 1.38 seconds. The probability of a cricket team winning or losing in their first two matches is shown in the tree diagram. Find the probability that the cricket team wins at least one match. So there are two matches, and we want to find the probability that the cricket team wins at least one match. Note that the keyword here is wins at least one match. There are three possibilities in this case, and we need to consider all three possibilities when calculating our final probability. So the first case is that the cricket team wins the first match and loses the second match, or they lose the first match and win the second match, or they win the first match and win the second match. So from the tree diagram, we can slot in the values. So for the first possibility, we have 1 over 3 times 1 over 4. For the second possibility, we have 2 over 3 times 3 over 4. And for the third possibility, we have 1 over 3 times 3 over 4. And by typing this into the calculator, we get a probability of 5 over 6. AB is an arc of a circle, center O, radius 9 centimeters. The length of the arc AB is 6 pi centimeters. The area of the sector AOB is k pi centimeters squared. Find the value of k. So from the question, we've been told that the area of sector AOB is equal to k pi, and we are trying to find the value of k. We also know that to find the area of sector AOB, that would be theta over 360 degrees times pi of the radius squared, and in this case the radius has been given as 9. When we simplify this, we get the value of k as 81 times theta over 360 degrees. We've not been directly given the value of theta in our question, so it means we need to find a way to get the value of theta. Another information we've been given is that the length of the arc AB is 6 pi centimeters, and we know that to find the arc length, that will be theta over 360 degrees times 2 pi the radius, which is 9. So this will allow us to find the value of theta, which we now get as 120 degrees. So we can now come back to the value of k, slot in the value of theta that we have now found, and we get the value of k to be 27. Y is directly proportional to the positive square root of x. When x equals 9, y equals 12. Find y when x equals 1 over 4. In mathematical terms, let's rewrite the statement. So y is directly proportional to the square root of x, and this means that y is equal to a constant which we'll call k times the square root of x. So to find the value of k, we will put in the values of x and y that has been given in the question. So when x equals 9, y is equal to 12. When we put this into the equation, we get the value of k as 4. So now that we know the value of k, we now have y is equal to 4 times the square root of x. So when the value of x is equal to 1 over 4, the value of y now becomes 4 times the square root of 1 over 4. And when we type this into the calculator, y equals 2. The Venn diagram shows the numbers of elements in each region. Find the number of elements in the region A intersection B complement or B prime. So let's reread this same statement in a way that we can appreciate better. So let's say that A is the set of people who like eating apple and B is a set of people who like eating banana. So we are asked to find the number of people who like to eat apple and at the same time do not like to eat banana. So for the number of people who eat apple, we have 3 plus 7, which is 10. But in this case, we are looking for the number of people who like to eat apple and at the same time, which is the intersection, right? And at the same time, do not eat banana. And so that leaves us with the number 3. An element is chosen at random. Find the probability that this element is in set B. So to find this probability, we need to find the number of elements in set B divided by the total number of elements. So the number of elements in set B is 7 plus 12, and the total number of elements is 5 plus 3 plus 7 plus 12. And so we get a probability of 19 over 27. An element is chosen at random from set A. Find the probability that this element is also a member of set B. Unlike the previous question, we are now choosing an element not from the total set, but particularly from set A. So this means that in this case, we will now be dividing by the number of elements in set A. And since we are finding the probability of this element also being in set B, we are now going to have the numerator to be the number of elements in set A and at the same time in set B. And so that gives us a probability of 7 over 10. On the diagram, shade the region A intersection B prime. So we can interpret this in our own terms as the number of people who like to eat apple or banana. And anyone who likes to eat apple or banana will be in this region. And since we are looking at the complement of this region, that will be any region outside the region A union B. Calculate the area of this trapezium. To find the area of the trapezium, that will be half of DC plus AB times AD. We've been given all the values we need except for the value of AD, which is the height of the trapezium. So to find the height of the trapezium, we can apply Pythagoras' theorem in this case. And so that will be BC squared is equal to AD squared plus EB squared. When we work that out by substituting the values of AD and EB, we get AD to be square root of 48 centimeters. Note that I am intentionally not writing AD in decimals since that is not our final answer. The square root of 48 is the same as 4 square root 3. So after typing this into the calculator, we get the area of the trapezium as 69.3 centimeters squared, correct to 3 significant figures. Factorize completely. 2a plus 4 plus ap plus 2p. So in the first section, 2a plus 4, the common factor is 2. And when you factor out 2, we are left with a plus 2. And in the second section, a plus 2p, the common factor is p. And after we factor that out, we are left with a plus 2. So we rewrite that as a plus 2, 2 plus p. 162 minus 80 squared. This might be a bit tricky because after you factor out 2, we are left with 81 minus 40 squared. And if you look closely, 81 minus 40 squared can be rewritten as a difference of 2 squares. And that leaves us with 2, 9 plus 2t, 9 minus 2t. A is the point 41 and B is the point 1015. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line AB. So first off, we know that the equation of any given line can be written in the form y equals mx plus c. So our job is to now find the value of m and the value of c and slot it into the equation y equal mx plus c. So to find the value of m, we know that the slope of the perpendicular bisector and the slope of the line AB will be equal to -1. The slope of AB will be the change in y over the change in x, which will be 15 minus 1 divided by 10 minus 4. And so the value of the perpendicular bisector ends up being -3 over 7. So we now have y equals -3 over 7x plus c. To find the value of c for the perpendicular bisector, we need to find one set of coordinates on the perpendicular bisector. These set of coordinates for the perpendicular bisector have not been provided directly in the question. But the good news is that we can easily find that. Since we know that the line is a perpendicular bisector of the line AB, so we can use the midpoint formula to find these coordinates. After finding these coordinates, we get the x coordinate as 7 and the y coordinate as 8. So we can slot these values into the equation and we get a value of c as 11. So we now have the equation of the perpendicular bisector as -3 over 7x plus 11. Calculate the area of triangle ABC. So area of triangle ABC is equal to half of AB times BC sine of angle ABC. So from the question, AB has been given as 7 centimeters, BC has been given as 10 centimeters, and the angle between these two lines, AB and BC, has been given as 35 degrees, and so we have sine 35 degrees. When we type this into the calculator, we get area of triangle ABC as 20.1 centimeters squared, correct to 3 significant figures. Calculate the length of AC. From the diagram shown, we have the length of AB, the length of BC, and we've been given an angle. So it means that we can easily use the cosine rule to find the length of AC. So by applying the cosine rule, we now have AC squared equals AB squared plus BC squared minus 2AB times BC cosine of ABC. So when we slot in the given values and type this into the calculator, we get the value of AC as 5.86 centimeters, correct to 3 significant figures. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. See you in the next video. Bye guys.